is it going, guys? LinuxDaily back with another top 5. Today's top 5 is top 5 reasons to run Linux. Alright, we'll start with number 1. It is free. That is free of cost most of the time, and free as in open source, as you can do what you want with it if you have the knowledge to modify the kernel and whatnot. It is free to do any of that. Like here in Manjaro, you could customize anything you want, like even put a whole new kernel on it if you wanted to. But yeah, that's number 1. It's just free. There's some distributions that may cost money or may like ask for you to donate, like Elementary OS. If we take a look at their website real quick, I'm gonna go to Firefox here. This is a clean installation of Manjaro Mate, but my demonstration is gonna be on Elementary. I'm actually just gonna go to Elementary OS because I don't exactly know their. Okay, right here. So yeah, if you go down here, it'll say like pay what you want. Like you can give them $5, $25, or you can just type in 0. That's just to help the developers, because they also need some funding too for research and whatnot when you're making a Linux distribution. But yeah, like if you're gonna run a distro and they would like a donation, it'll be probably the best bet to give them a little small donation. But yeah, that's number 1. Number 2, it is very customizable. Depending on the distribution that you're running, like here in this case Elementary OS is not very much unless you install a different desktop environment, which kind of takes away the whole purpose of Elementary OS. But it is very customizable. Like on here, Manjaro, I can throw on a whole new desktop environment. I could also go down here in appearance and change all of this. Like I can go here, change the complete appearance on that. So you could also install more different themes if you would like, if you're into like the high contrast kind of stuff. There you go. These are just all the default theming options you could choose. I quite like this one, to be honest, for Mate. You could change the background pretty much on every distribution out there, but very customizable. If I didn't like Mate, I can throw in a different desktop environment. Like I can throw i3 KDE Plasma, or download the Manjaro KDE Plasma Edition, actually. But yeah, plenty of different options to choose from. Like I just threw this Manjaro Mate. Nice little background. I'm going to keep that up there for the purpose of this video. For those of you wondering, this is actually installed on the VirtualBox. This is not a live CD. So there you go. Now, reason number 3 is security. Linux by default is a lot more secure than an operating system like Windows, because there's a lot less people using it. So all the people out writing malware and all that will target Windows more than Linux. So you're good there. You don't really need an antivirus, but they have some available. Like if we go down to a terminal, Mate terminal right here, and then I might have to, yeah, sudo pacman. Yeah, clam AV is a pretty good one for Linux. Now I'm downloading this on Manjaro, which is Arch based. I'm not quite sure how to use it, but yeah, but they have plenty of different options for antivirus on Linux. You could get away with not using an antivirus, but if they're out there, you should use it. generally Linux is a lot more secure than Windows or Mac. Reason number 5, it is very easy to learn. You gotta spend some time learning it, yeah, if you want to get used to the command line. But if you're just shifting to Linux and you get a distribution like elementary, you don't need to spend a whole lot of time with the command line. So there you go, you just have everything right there. You could update it and all that right through the default GUI programs. But more distributions like Manjaro and like the ones that aren't as easy to use, you would more than likely want to use the command line to update and install. But a lot of distributions like elementary and Ubuntu and all those ones that are great for the new user, everything's right there on the application installer. Now I don't know if Manjaro has a application installer. Okay, add and remove software. I'm not too familiar with this one. Yeah, updates right here. Yeah, you can check for updates right here as well. Now I just installed this and I did not update. I kind of forgot to before the video, but you could just have these all selected and click apply and it should update. But like a distribution like Ubuntu, it's kind of right there, all self-explanatory, right in the app center or whatever you want to call it. So that was number 4. And number 5, it could run on pretty much anything. Even if you have that really old 10-year-old laptop you might have sitting around, you could install a lightweight on there and it'll run just fine. Like there's this Linux Mint Mate is fairly light. You could run that on an old piece of hardware. I'm going to go back into Firefox web browser really quick. Linux Mint Mate. Yeah, so pretty light. You might even be able to run Manjaro Mate on there. There's like Puppy Linux, Linux Lite. Puppy Linux is another really light one. You could run that on anything pretty much. Now, one thing with this is running on anything, sometimes the drivers, you might not be able to use the free and open source ones. Like if you have an NVIDIA card, you might get the best performance off the NVIDIA proprietary driver, the closed sourced NVIDIA one. But you could also run the open source one, but gaming and all that is not going to be a strong suit with it. But here's Puppy Linux. This is a really light distribution. It says it's really customizable, so that was pro number 2. I mean top 5 number 2 right there. But yeah, those are the quick top 5 reasons to run Linux. Number 1 being free of cost. Like free as in like free of cost, and free and open source. Do what you want with the kernel if you have the knowledge to. It could be kind of risky if you mess up something and the thing quits booting, but that's the cost of that. Number 2, very customizable depending on the distro you choose. There's not a whole lot of distributions that I know that aren't that customizable other than Elementary OS, which I brought up earlier in the video. Number 3 is security, being more secure than most other operating systems out there like Windows and Mac. It's a lot more secure. You don't need to run an antivirus, but there are some out there. Now, running Linux doesn't mean you're going to be invincible to everything. You still can get a virus, but it's not even nearly as likely as if you're running Windows. Number 4 is easy to learn if you spend the time. Now, if you want to get used to the command line, spend some time in a terminal. it is not that hard. Basic commands. You could also create an alias. I'll show you that really quick. If there's not... Yeah, so if you're coming from Windows and you're used to the command prompt and you need to view the files, you can just type in dir like you would in Windows, and by default there's already an alias created. So ls and dir kind of do the same thing, but ls is colorful. But you get the point on that. And number 5, it can run on pretty much any hardware. Even the 10-year-old laptop that you might have laying around would be able to run. Bring some life back into that. And yeah, that is my top 5 reasons to run Linux. Running Linux like on that old burner laptop or in a VirtualBox, or actually installing it on your main PC, but you want to figure out which software you want to run first. Like Adobe Photoshop is not going to be able to run on Linux. You might have to find a clone like GIMP or something in that nature. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one.